Hello, New Orleans. You're listening to the Sports Coma, your new #1 podcast on everything Saints, Pelicans, and a lot more. And now, here's your host, Big Q and the guys.
What's up, sports world? How y'all doing tonight? Y'all listening to Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Intense talk on the Saints, the Pelicans, and a hell of a lot more. And tonight we're covering the Saints game against the Baltimore Ravens. They turned up another loss. It ain't looking too good for the hometown team. Let me tell you what, boys. We got DC's. He's in the building, in the studio live with us tonight. We got Mr. Blaxuede on the line. How y'all doing tonight, fellas?
Great. Oh, man, I'm doing better than last week.
Not by very much. The Baltimore Ravens came into the Mercedes-Benz Superdome and they handed us a loss, making that 0-8 in the last two seasons. In preseason, of course, we had this discussion before when we said,
I believe it's 9, man.
Yeah. You know, but we know without a doubt that the last two seasons they have yet to win a preseason game. And some people say that don't matter because preseason doesn't count. But let me tell you, I disagree with that logic. Because a lot of what they do in the preseason builds momentum for the regular season, and it's not good. 23-14, they come up, they turn up the loss. But what it looked like, the score is it's really a lie, because they really got the last few points on garbage time toward the end of the game, the last 2 minutes or so. They were able to get a touchdown in with Austin Johnson from Garrett Grayson. Last preseason game, what we're looking forward to is now regular season. But before we jump into that, we're going to cover a few things, talk about our sponsors, the Posh Lifestyle. To all our great fans and people that support the show, we'd like for y'all to go and check out the Posh Lifestyle. They sell water filters, healing magnetics, healing crystals, clothing, books, organics, little bit of everything and anything. They have great deals, great service. And they have you can get free shipping on orders over $100 on the majority of their products. So upgrade your lifestyle with the Posh Lifestyle. Go to www.poshlifestyle. That's life spelled with a YLYFE. www.poshlifestyle.com. Love what you do. Also, if you like the show, you can donate as well on www.theposhlifestyle.com. You can donate. There's a link as soon as you hit the website, and it shows that you can go right in there and donate to the show, help us to build our platform, and continue to upgrade and get bigger and stronger as we continue to cover the Saints, the Pelicans, and other sport events as well. Now, I'm running out of words, adjectives to describe these contests, fellas. I mean, every different game, it seems like it's another way that they seem to lose these games. Now tonight, they were able to play more of Drew. Drew, of course, he went 3 of 6 for 40 yards, 71.5 QB rating, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Didn't look comfortable in the pocket. Of course, they had a couple of additions that they added to the team. Khalif Barnes paid a little bit. We're gonna go over all of that stuff, but it's just, to me, it just looked pretty craptastic to me, man. I don't know. So let me ask you fellas this: from y'all watch the game, we'll start with you, Swade. What's your take on tonight's action with the Baltimore Ravens, New Orleans Saints? What stuck out to you, or what stunk out to you, if you want to comment on that?
Well, I definitely want to give props to John Jenkins. He looked well. I think the defensive line, as a whole, they did better. I guess you could say they did better because the game's getting worse. I think they did a good job up front. I think PJ Williams showed me something today. They didn't too much test the safeties too much, but I saw a lot of rush by the defense. And what stuck up the thing the most is this guy, Tony Hill. And I know we'll probably get to him later. And I want to say Tony Hill is now endorsing Bro Brothers cement shoes. Because he stood there on the line and could not move to defend or to guard anybody.
Well,
And,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sway.
no, that's it.
What's your take, DC? What you thought about tonight's affair?
Well, you know me. I always have an optimistic point of view.
Kind of hard to do that tonight, doing.
Well, it is kind of hard to do that, but I'm still gonna do it anyway.
All right.
When they put our first team in, we did make a 10-play drive for 61 yards, and we went down and got a field goal. I think that was good. Drew Brees did not look comfortable in the pocket. Andrews Pete made I couldn't even believe what I was watching. It's like they didn't switch the guy around so much. He don't know what position he playing at what time. He was on the left guard spot, but he was, I guess in his mind, he was trying to get to the right side of the line. He was guarding one guy with Max Unger that he clearly had it under control by himself, and the safety just shoots up the seam untouched. And Drew Brees has to dump the ball out, and that kind of ended our drive. We may have been able to put a touchdown in, but he was getting the ball out pretty quick. I also saw one time where he had about maybe 6 or 7 seconds back there, man. He was just, but nobody could get open, so that wasn't good. But the offensive line did hold up at that point. But for pretty much the rest of the game, they was just letting them do what they want. The running game, to me, I would give our running backs a B+, man. Everybody on the running back squad, other than Travis Cadet, because I guess we're going to get rid of him. I didn't see him at all. They all made plays, man. We averaged about 4.5 yards a carry as a team. Murphy looked really good, man. He was making plays all over the place. I guess he knew his job was on the line. Shout out to Marcus Murphy. 120 or so all-purpose yards. But that's the bright spots. And a lot of that came in the first quarter. But as soon as the second quarter rolled around, it's like, who the hell are these people? It's just like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, man. They just flip-flop, you know. So as soon as you go into the second quarter, everything turned around, man. I don't even know how many yards we got in the second quarter, but I know it wasn't much. And that's when the Ravens pretty much started to take off. But the defense was way improved to me from last week. And, I mean, you gave up pretty much what we gave up all game in the first half last week. So it wasn't real hard to do that. But they definitely improved. You have to keep in mind they were not playing the Ravens starters. I don't even think their starters got on the airplane. I don't even think they was in the stadium. They probably didn't even watch the game.
Yeah, I don't think I didn't see Terrell Suggs or any of
Steve Smith,
or none of
Joe Flacco.
None of those guys. I don't think they made the trip. Why should they? But we total yards today. Baltimore second string did 312 against the Saints 259. Although New Orleans did stop the trend of 3 turnovers a contest, they only had 1. So I guess that's a positive. That if you're searching for a positive.
Did you see that one though, man? That was he just like. It's like he just gave the ball up, man. I was like, wait, is that a fumble? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the sack fumble. The sack fumble that happened to McCown on the goal line. The defender was able to retrieve it.
The rookie center, Henry, he allowed that sack for the Ravens to get that touchdown. Like I told Q, I said, well, we do have team unity because after he allowed that sack, you know, Henry went to the sideline and Lelito told Henry, you know, how to use his skates correctly. You know what I'm saying? He showed us, you know, some team unity going on right there. So I guess that's like Skate Country Junior. I don't know what's going on, but to the defense's aid, you know, they did have like maybe 2-3 and outs in that second quarter, and they really showed me something. And if you take away that turnover touchdown and you know the garbage touchdown, which happened I think late in the third, possibly early fourth. You know, the game doesn't look that bad, but I do understand what you're saying, DC. These are the second team people, you know?
Right.
And they started with the second team people. So, you never know, man. You never know.
Well, it just what stands out to me, and we're going to move on to the next topic. What stands out to me is the fact that the offense couldn't get going against the second string Baltimore defenders. They at times, majority of the time, although they did rush better, they did turn in a better rushing performance this game. But also, I have to take into account of who you did it against.
Right.
You know, it should have been at least double what you did. But of course, Marcus Murphy, he led everybody. He had 6 carries for 31 yards. That's 5.2 on average. Had a long run for 27 yards. Hightower looked pretty good too. He was really trying to get loose. If we'd had some better blocking, you know, watching the game, seeing people miss blocks. I seen Brandon Coleman, a block that he was supposed to do. He couldn't. He had 2 guys. One guy he whiffed on him, then whiffed on the other guy. It's just then Zach Streif. Zach Streif was okay, although I did see him get beat a couple of times. The backup tackles, boy, they looked awful. Yeah. Hills is a guy that looked terrible. Khalid Barnes, I'm gonna give him a break because he's just starting out. But a lot of those guys looked awful. I mean, and the backup center, Henry, our center, he looked terrible. And he's definitely going to be one of the guys that's not going to make this roster. Lambert, the wide receiver Lambert, he was targeted 4 times, but he only came down with 2 of them for 41 yards. And Lambert's a big target. He's about 6'3", 230-something pounds. And I really thought he had an opportunity, if anything, to challenge Coleman's position. But, of course, he failed to go. And that just kind of astounds me that if this is your dream, you're on the NFL roster, and the only thing you have to do is just do what you've been doing since JV and playground league, and that's just to catch the damn ball. And a lot of these guys get out there, and then it's just that, you know, they can't handle the pressure of those situations, fear and everything. Fear is a mug, boy, I tell you what. Yeah, fear is a mug. And I can see it all over these guys' face. You know, you have to have a certain level of confidence in their body language. And a lot of times you see these guys that go out there, they look pathetic at times. They look kind of shy and reserved and shaky. And you're supposed to let it all go, baby. You live in a dream. But anyway, let's segue to the offensive line play. Let's talk about that line, please, because that's been the subject of all our conversation pretty much. At first, when we started the broadcast, we was talking about the Saints defense, in particular the secondary, followed by the defensive line. Could they get rushed on the quarterback? As far as now, obviously, it's the offensive line, and they did address it with Khalid Barnes. I don't know if he'll be enough, like DC calls it a Band-Aid. But let's talk about that offensive line. From what I've seen, I wasn't too much encouraged, even though they did have a better outing against a bunch of backups. But what is your take on it, DC? I'm going to let you start first on that. Give me your take on the offensive line play.
Now, I'll open the segment being very optimistic.
So you're going to balance it off by not being optimistic?
I can't find anything. There's nothing. You know what? I can't find something. Offensive line, today, y'all did a pretty good job against the run blocking. Other than that, it's nothing. They had 3 plays, man, that I can recall that it's like you shouldn't even have one of them. But in their defense, a lot of what we're seeing is communication. Because when you look at it, some of them, I mean, you know, like y'all call Mr. Skates Jr., I don't know if that's
Skate Country.
Skate Country Jr. I don't know if that's lack of talent or whatever, but the play with Andrews Pete was a miscommunication. I don't know the young fella's name, number 75 on the edge when Grayson fumbled. He just didn't look like he knew what the hell he was doing. At least he picked the ball up. Give him credit for that. But Drew Brees had constant pressure on him. Nobody was really able to sit back there and do their thing, man. But they did allow us to have a better run game. So I don't know. Maybe they focused on running in practice all week.
Well, I'll tell you what, DC. To me, the offensive line was quite offensive. Yes. And we definitely need to continue to monitor them and continue to keep pressing. When we get back off the break, we're going to hear a little bit about the coach, Sean Payton, his takes on the game. We'll let the guys finish their take on the other side of the break. You listen to the Sport Coma with Big Q and the guys. Stay with us.
When Winter is gone, so spring on over to We've Got It, your low-price, high-class leader. That's right, come in now and take advantage of our everyday bundle deals on any 3 bundles. 12 to 16 inches, $130. 18 to 22 inches, $155. And 24 to 30 inches, $185. We've Got It. 495 Voters Road in Slidell. 985-445-1400. That's 985-445-1400.
I'm the flyest in the world. I'm the flyest in the world. I'm the flyest in the world. Who you know that's better than me? Nobody.
Be the playmaker. Madden NFL 16. Game not yet rated.
Hey, I'm Paul, and I used to ask if you could hear me now with Verizon. Not anymore. I'm with Sprint now, because guess what? It's 2016 and every network is great. In fact, Sprint's reliability is now within 1% of Verizon. And Sprint saves you 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile rates. So I switched to Sprint, and millions more have too. Can you hear that?
Don't let a 1% difference cost you twice as much. Switch to Sprint today.
What up, America? This Big Q from the Sports Coma, letting you know that you can follow us and the guys on Facebook, All Saints and Pelican fans, also on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, the Sports Coma. You can also download our podcast at podbean.com. So check us out for all the intense and entertainment talk on the Saints, the Pels, and a hell of a lot more. Only at the Sports Coma, you heard me?
Get ready, New Orleans. It's time for the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, telling you everything you need to know about the Saints, Pelicans, and a whole lot more.
I ain't gonna say it no more.
Welcome back to the Sports Coma, Big Q and the guys. We're going into our second segment. We're talking about offensive line woes, the woes us. And we're dealing with a lot, especially with Sean Payton. I was looking at his body language. You can see he's kind of a guy that's looking at everything and trying to be positive. He's adding different players, hopefully that it'll all add together. And I think probably some of this, a lot of this will iron itself out once they start playing together on a regular basis, pretty much maybe by the 4th or 5th game. You got the preseason, then when most teams don't gel, when the regular season starts, it usually takes them 3 or 4 games before they actually get that adhesiveness, that glue to start actually operating where they know each other's tendencies or whatnot. So everything started to work, and then, and when that first win comes, it'll be a big happening for this team because they haven't won as of yet in any sense, form, or fashion. But let's listen to a little Sean Payton, see what he got to say, then we'll finish our takes after Payton.
Tonight, we'll have a chance to get back in the office in the morning, spend a lot of time on this tape, and then with these guys, and of course in the next 2 days, then begin to go through the process of trimming the roster down. Any questions? Well, defensively, we got a stop in the first series. We wanted to play those guys. I just felt like it was important offensively. We'll take a peek at the tape. I thought I want to see a couple routes where we got flushed in protection. We ended up going down the field and coming away with a field goal. So, you want to score every time you have the ball. But our plan was to play the healthy starters. There were a handful of guys that sat.
It's obviously tough for the players who get, bad news, but how tough are these next 48 hours for you?
Colt, I think, it's something that you never get used to it, and you recognize the amount of work that goes into it. And, for guys, especially down to this last final cut down, I think I'm sure there are a handful of guys really hoping for a practice squad opportunity, and of course a number of those guys will have that. But it's never easy.
Andrew Pete and Tim Legal got some extended playing time there. What would you see out of them?
Well, we did that with just more than those two. We did it with Steph. We did it with guys we felt we needed to get more reps. So we'll take a peek at the film and then kind of see how they did. I thought, listen, he had some juice. I was impressed with the run late in the game. I thought he improved some during training camp as a runner. Obviously, that's a position that it's going to be a challenge just because of some of the depth we have there, and we got to do a good job of really taking a peek at the whole body of work for these guys and trying to arrive at the right decision.
Sean, what's your major concern heading into the season?
Well, listen, we've been a little bit of a work in progress up front on the offensive line, and hopefully, that can be cleaned up quickly. But I don't want to sit here specifically right now, a week before the Raiders, and go through every one of our, there'll be a handful though. And, I think that we just talked about it in there. I think obviously getting guys healthy, the attention to detail, and, really the next 9 days leading up to that game, it all begins. And so my experience is, though, you just can't turn the switch. There are a handful of things that we're going to have to be better at, and I think collectively we'll be able to see and address those.
That's a lot to say, Coach. Going back to our initial points after hearing Coach Sean Payton deliver a little of that post-game presser. Suede, I'm going to let you go ahead and finish your point on, we're going to talk about the offensive line. DC, of course, you can comment and carry. Piggybacking off what the coach talking about here, need more time. You can't flip that switch. And you're right. You can't flip the switch. And you damn sure can't flip it if you keep flipping the offensive linemen all around from different areas. You're creating problems all the way around. So it was no stableness in the offensive line from the get-go. Of course, also, you had the center, Max Unger, who had that 3-year extension, to my chagrin. They actually signed him on a pretty basic deal compared to what most people are getting paid. It was reported, ESPN is reporting that he got a 3-year extension at $7 million a year for Max Unger. So you got him, Unger Bunga, signed on. So outside of him, with Tyron Armstead's deal done, and Streep still got a handful of years on his contract. I just don't understand what the flipping and the movement and all this kind of stuff is, although I believe that the team's going to struggle up until possibly the third or fourth game until they really learn each other. But give me your takes on Sean Payton and, of course, on the offensive line. We're going to start with you, Suede.
Well, the offensive line, we all expect Armstead to be back for the first week. We're going to definitely have Unger in the center. You're going to have Streef. He's kind of wishy-washy, but he's going to do the best he can, which is, I guess, unfortunately, is better than some people on the right side. And you're going to put Pete back on the left where he belongs, and then you still have this hole with this quiet guy, whoever he is. Okay, so with that being said, these guys, like you said in the first quarter, they actually held their own, and they looked pretty good. And there were certain times where Breeze was in the pocket like for 6-7 seconds. And there were times where he looked like he can actually run. Okay, at some points with the offensive line, and maybe it takes repetition for them guys to gel together and get it going. The run game with Hightower looked good running between those guys. And a lot of times it was single back formation. But if they ever get back to the old way they were playing, like from last week and past that, Coach said it's all about preparation. Well, hopefully he'll have a whole tube of preparation H, because we're going to need it if they continue to play like they played in the past.
What's your take, DC?
Well, my take is I agree with everything you're saying, man. You're dead on. But I feel like we have this one quality that's been a staple of the Saints, and is we seem to be very resilient, and we play up and play down to our competition. The whole time of the Sean Payton era, our team has been that way, and we really haven't seen these guys play for a full game. I think we're going to learn a lot when they play Oakland, because you're going to have Khalil Mack out there, who's probably one of the best premier pass rushers in the league. So if we can make it through that game, man, I mean, the sky is the limit if we can steal that game. And the offensive line plays up to, I guess, average at least, you know, until they can get things going, because we know this is a patched up offensive line, man. It's like a bad tire with a bunch of holes in it, and we got a bunch of plugs and patches going. Tyron Armstead wasn't out there, so obviously they're going to look better with him out there protecting Drew Brees on his blind side. I think that may have been a big part of why he looked uncomfortable, because you can't really see over there, and he knows he can count on that guy. He ain't there. So I think they can definitely turn it around, but it's not something that's just going to, like Coach said, flip the switch. Like, you know, we were seeing all this in preseason, and you're like, oh, that's an anomaly. And it's, you get out there week one, and they're just going to be Pro Bowlers. So they're definitely going to have their bumps and nicks and bruises. And just like Coach said, I was also slightly impressed with the way that they block for the run. They still can improve on that. There was a lot of missed blocks and stuff. They definitely improved the run game steadily throughout the preseason as the pass blocking decreased. So it's like you're trading one for the other. But they haven't had the consistency to play all together. And we all have played sports, and you know, when you're playing with certain people, you get kind of used to the things they do. You get used to them, their personality, their football personality or whatever, and you kind of know what they're gonna do before they do it. But when you keep moving guys around, I mean, that messes that up. So there's definitely a talent problem. We got people who just flat out getting beat. You see guys just, they ain't even trying to do swim moves or nothing. They just get out my way. Like pushing you back into the quarterback. I think that's unacceptable, and those type of players we need to cut. But the mental mistakes, we see a lot of those, and I think those are the things that can be corrected. And I don't know if they'll all be corrected by week one, but those are the things that can be changed. Like these are professionals, and that's unacceptable, and that shouldn't be tolerated. And I think that's what they can change and turn around. But the talent mistakes, man, you can't do nothing but change the player.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that issue with a lot of times dealing with the Saints offensive line is it's definitely patchwork. We got Unger in the middle, Armstead on the left, and he's not been there, like you said. Streif has been there, but Streif is not to me. I don't consider him very solid at the right tackle position. He will be exposed many times during this season. You mark my words. I think Pete is a guy that they want to play at the left guard. They brought Khalil Barnes in, but at first the take was he was to play right guard and usurp, move Pete to the left side. That's not what Sean Payton did. He just brought Khalil Barnes in just to be a reserve tackle, possibly to back up Armstead or Zach Streif if injuries occur, because they do not have a rotational offensive tackle on this team. So obviously we was told one thing and they're doing another, that little okey-doke move. So yes, so he survives, but we'll see what happens, because it's gonna be, we're gonna talk about the defense on the other side of the break. We also gonna get the guys' takes and see who they believe, if there'll be any surprise cuts that'll be happening coming up next week as the Saints trim their roster down to 53. We'll cover that and a few other things on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Stay with us.
Nah, man. I'm not retiring.
I'll still break that old man's ankles.
I'm still gonna knock down turnaround jumpers all day.
That ain't changing.
Man, I drop threes on them all night long.
All night.
All night.
I'll drain threes on you all night.
Man, I dropped 82 on you.
I've been Kobe for like 14 years.
I've been him for 16 years.
I won like 15 championships.
I've been Kobe for as long as I can remember.
Dude, you're 8.
Nah, man, I'm not retiring.
I hate Kobe Bryant.
I love that Mamba face.
I hate that Mamba face. I'll dunk on fools.
I'll still hate Kobe Bryant.
I'm still gonna hate him.
He's not done.
This doesn't change a thing.
I am Kobe.
I am Kobe.
I am Kobe Bryant.
I'll still be Kobe Bryant.
Product not yet rated.
The 6, Raptors, Diamond, Key, New Ride, Old Ride, Bad Times, Good Times, Young Money, New Money, OVO, 29, 29, 29, Best I Ever Had, Worst Behavior, Old Crib, New Crib, October, Sound, Festival, Album Time Again or Acting Time Again, My Friend, My Friends, Younger Me, Older Me, Me as Manny, Me as Jimmy, Me as Drake.
What up, America? This Big Q from the Sports Coma, letting you know that you can follow us and the guys on Facebook, All Saints and Pelican fans, also on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, the Sports Coma. You can also download our podcast at podbean.com. So check us out for all the intense and entertainment talk on the Saints, the Pels, and a hell of a lot more. Only at the Sports Coma, you heard me? Welcome back to the Sports Coma, Big Q and the guys. About to cover the Saints. We just got to talking about the offensive line on the previous segment. Now it's time for the defense. Today the defense, we're gonna get their take. To me, it did okay. You know, it wasn't something I can really just hang my hat on and say, yeah, you know what, this we can take this into the regular season. PJ Williams played okay. He played okay. Michael Malty led the team tackle. He had 8 tackles on the day combined. He played kind of expired. He left a few tackles on the field, bad tackling, which that was stuck out to me among anything dealing with the Saints defense. A lot of missed tackles. A couple of sacks that were missed as well. John Jenkins. Now, we've been very critical of John Jenkins on a Sports Coma, but today he really showed up. He had a couple of sacks in the game. He played inspired today. And if we can get this guy, this John Jenkins, to play like what he played tonight in many of these games, we might have something.
Don't count him yet. He's playing against backups.
Right. So, you know, that's true. He was playing against second stringers. Among that, that's what I says. You got to take this win with a grain of salt because, you know, I'm expecting you. You had 2. I was expecting you to get 4 against a backup when you're a perennial potential starter. But P.J. Williams, 4 total tackles. He had 2 pass defenses. Stephon Anthony played well. He had 4 total tackles. Trey Elston got a little burn in there, and I'm really interested to see exactly what the Saints do with Trey Elston. I mean, he's been playing. He's been a pretty steady DB. I wonder what they're going to do with that guy. If they put him on the special team, on the practice squad, he won't last. I promise you. Somebody going to scoop him up. But let me get the guys' takes on that tonight. Start with you, DC. Based upon what you've seen with the Saints' defense tonight in this game against the backups of the Baltimore Ravens, minus Terrell Sugg, Chris Canton, and the rest of those guys, what's your take on that defense? Are you inspired? Is there anything that you see that you like? And then we're going to let Sway comment after that.
Yeah, there was a lot of things I saw I like. Again, you got to take it with a grain of salt. As Baltimore is their win. Their backups were basically better than our backups as a whole. But our defense definitely came to play. There's a lot of passes being thrown around and guys playing deep off the ball, but I understand they're playing a vanilla defense. For the most part, they were making their tackles. They weren't a whole bunch of broken tackles or people not hitting the guy once they made contact. They took him down. We got a few pass deflections. We got some sacks in there. They were doing a lot, but we have a lot of players, I think, on our defense that might not make the cut, and we have to make room for Paul Kruger, of course, and we got the young guy we got from Miami, McCain. We got to make room for him. So I think a lot of players might be on the way out that maybe we expecting to keep. I don't think we're gonna keep 6 or 7 DBs. We're not gonna keep 3 safeties at both safety positions. So we have a lot of guys that make plays and then don't make plays. We have a lot of inconsistent people. So that's kind of what I saw from after the first quarter. It was a bunch of inconsistency, but they still were serviceable. So that's better than pedestrian. So if I had to grade the defense and actually give them a grade, overall, I'm not judging the first team. I'm just putting it all in one lump. I said C+. We look average and at times a little above average.
Well, if it's a C+, I tell you what, C+, you still pass the grade. You know, there's room for improvement. Right, there's room for improvement. I do believe that the Saints are definitely playing a very faceless defense to avoid giving the advantage to the Oakland Raiders, who they're really preparing for. These four preseason games, they just try to get as much reps as they can get, game time reps for some of these guys, do their evaluations, and hide as much as they can hide, because I'm pretty sure the defense is going to show you stuff that these previous 4 games they hadn't showed you. You're like, what the hell that's been? And that's just a technique that most the coaches do during the preseason. They very rarely show their full playbook, or they just run these plays, these trick plays, and plays that they wouldn't dare do in a regular season during the preseason, and they can get away with it. So
we've been conservative, I would say.
Right. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's definitely a different take. What's your take on it, Swade?
I really hope you guys are right that they are playing conservative and they are playing vanilla. And if that's the case, what I saw today, it was really good. And like DC said, they were playing off of the ball, maybe 8 yards, and allowing them to fit in those pockets. Maybe just to step back and see a couple of things. But one thing I noticed when they did play up to the ball, they were very effective. The defensive line, they were majority of the times they were on the halfback. They were on the running game, on point. It was certain times where the defense the secondary have a blown coverage, and PJ Williams even started the game looking like hold on, but he got right back in it, man, and he played. I guess you can say right now he played better than I've seen him play in the NFL. He played today. He actually had good coverage on the receiver. What I didn't like Crawley. Crawley missed a couple of tackles. I think he needs to learn how to wrap up. I am very impressed by John Jenkins. I hope we see more of what we saw from him during the whole season, man. I also saw Shad Marbury. He made a good tackle, solo tackle during the game, and the defensive line had pressure through the whole deal. So as far as the whole, I think C+. C+, if not, yeah, C+. I see him as being average, man. And like I said, it's easy to do better because it couldn't get any worse.
Well, if we average, man, and the offense comes out and do what we used to them doing, I think we could still have a lot to hang our hats on. So
right, and another thing,
we'll see against the Raiders.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, that was it.
Oh, I want to see there was times with a secondary, they perceived lackadaisical, and they didn't have the aggression. They didn't have the, you know how when Seattle used to make plays?
Yeah, they seemed bored. Like,
they seemed bored, like they playing Uno. Like, I want to see them make a play and just jump around like, and smack each other in the helmet. Like, let's go. Look at some nastiness going.
That's what I like about that guy, McClain, man. I wonder if he's going to work his way into a rotation. To me, I don't know a lot about him. He seems like he might have that.
Right. We need somebody to bring that kind of thing to the seems like even with the new cornerback, the veteran guy, the dirtbag.
Finnegan's like that too, yeah.
Finnegan was out there, but
Yeah,
he didn't even have it. He was like walking around, with the question mark. I'm like, what's going on?
Well, he ain't been here that long. He ain't comfortable yet, man. You know how people are. They're trying to make a good impression and all that. Then it just come out,
Right. Let's hope that's it, man, because I want to see some stank come from this defense. Not bad stank. I want to see some good stank coming from this defense, man.
They are professionals, too, so they understand this is a preseason game and it don't count for nothing. So, I don't know. Sometimes maybe players get lazy, man. If they got their job secure,
Right. When you come fresh off a resort, you probably can get that feeling.
Well, I mean, they have to understand that now it's the time for them to seize the day. I know a lot of these guys probably definitely going to end up on the roster. Some of these guys going to end up on the street. Most of them, some of these guys I watched play over the past training camp into all these preseason games, and they deserve, and some of them deserve to be on the street. Maybe some of them need to look for a different profession because they're not ready. Some of these guys look like the game is bigger than them. Anyway, let's segue to the special teams. I know we don't talk much about the special teams besides maybe our kick returners and punt returners. The absence of Travis Cadet in the game, obviously, he is not around. Obviously, we'll probably hear from that tomorrow or the following day that he'll end up being released.
You went from Cadet either Wednesday or Saturday.
Yeah.
Come pick up the garbage on the sidewalk.
Okay, that's about what it is, huh? But but outside of it, they had a kicker battle that was been pretty close all training camp long, all through the preseason between Kai Forbath and Connor Barth. Based on what you guys seen of the special team, because now we haven't paid too much attention to the kicker. Now we get into the time of the year when the kicker matters. All the crap about the special teams, that goes out the window. Which one of these guys is going to be the kicker? Which one is the best choice for the Saints to go as a kicker? I'm going to start with you, DC.
I know which one they're going to go with, if there is such a thing. They're going to go with both. We've been doing this for the last 3 years, man. Why are y'all surprised? They're going to carry two kickers like we've been doing. And, I mean, just to be honest, in all fairness to Sean Payton, which one would you pick? I mean, they look the same. You can't even tell them apart. Their names are even close. Like there's nobody really setting himself apart from the other. It ain't like they've been asked to kick a 50-yarder or anything that really pushes them to try and challenge them. Most of the kicks that they get are little chip shots. If we don't have a chip shot, we usually punting. So. I think they're going to carry two kickers, and we're going to do like we always do going into the season, and they're going to keep two kickers until a guy proves himself. Don't miss too many kicks because we got this other guy behind you, and I think Sean Payton uses that as a good motivational tool for his kickers. I'm not sure how it works all the time because when we actually won the Super Bowl, we only had one kicker.
What's your take, Wade? You agree with DC?
Yeah, I definitely agree with DC. If you look at it, both of them have, for this game, they both have 3 points. They're both 1 for 1. The only difference is Connor Boss kicked the 40-yarder, Forbath kicked the 36-yarder. I really do feel that they're going to go with Kai just because his last name is longer. So, I mean, I don't know. He didn't mean anymore, man. But you know definitely one thing that Thomas Morstead is.
Well, Morstead's been a beast, man. He had 4 punts, 186 yards, averaging 46.5 on the kicks. And he had 59-yarder that was outstanding. So he's awesome. If we could just find his compliment in the kicking game, we'd be straight as far as special teams go. But if I had to guess, I would give it to Connor Barth, to be honest with you. We've seen what Kai Forbath can do. He was unimpressive last year. And I think Connor Barth is a pretty decent kicker. And, well, I still like Connor Barth, his production versus over the years he's kicked in Tampa Bay. But anyway, we'll talk about a little bit of that more and a few other things. We'll talk about Mr. Colin Kaepernick on the other side of the break, too. He had a pretty decent night tonight. Listen to Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Stay tuned with us.
Hey, this Suede. I'm about to tune you in. I'll cue you into your one-stop online shop for all your health essentials. Your vitamins, your water filters, healing magnetics, hygiene products, healing crystals, and jewelry. For all this and more, just log into theposhlifestyle.com. Once again, that is theposhlifestyle.com.
There's no one road out there. No one surface. No one speed. No one way of driving on each and every road. But there is one car that can conquer them all. The Mercedes-Benz C-Class. 5 driving modes let you customize the steering, shift points, and suspension to fit the mood you're in and the road you're on. The 2016 C-Class, starting at $38,950.
Is it true Ciroc vodka makes the best flavors in the world? Take one sip of the lush wildness of Ciroc Red Berry. One taste of the intense ripeness of Ciroc Peach. Even one drop of the explosive freshness of Ciroc Coconut. And the truth will come to your lips. Ciroc Ultra Premium flavors. One sip is all it takes to taste true perfection. Available in Red Berry, Coconut, and Peach. Ciroc. Nothing tastes better than the truth.
The Bud Light Party believes in change. That's why Bud Light has a new look, and we want to share it with everyone. From our national parks to our furthest shores, jackpot, to your living room. Look under your seats! Still the same refreshing Bud Light with a new look.
To see an athlete that take that actually sits down, stand up, but sits down for a cause. That's what Colin Kaepernick's doing, and he's been joined by his teammate, safety Eric Reed, former LSU safety Eric Reed, who's joining Colin Kaepernick in his stance against injustice with blacks and minorities. You listen to the Sports Coma, Big Q and the guys. We're back off a break, going into our final segment. We were talking special teams in the previous break. Now we're going into the talk of Colin Kaepernick. And if you heard the show from yesterday, it was a very spirited and powerful show. Very powerful show. When the guys gave very, very excellent comments, I feel, on a very controversial. Some people say it's controversial because a lot of people like to keep these topics vanilla and out and smoothed over. They don't want to deal with the toughies.
Cam Newton.
You know, and their agents tell them stay out of it, don't get involved because you don't want to smear on your brand. But let me tell you, athletes, something out there that think like that. Let me tell you something. You wouldn't be where you at if another guy that took a stance like Colin Kaepernick stood up and said that this was an injustice. You had those runners that competed in the Olympics. If you remember that the legendary photos of those runners, track stars, with their heads down, with their hands showing the Black Power fist up. They planned that, and at the exact moment when that picture was taken, they surprised the photographers with that, and they took up and they stood a stance. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a guy. He was Llewellyn Cinder, and he converted, but he started to talk about a lot of the injustice. And Jim Brown, over the years, like him or not, Jim Brown was a guy that always talked about all those major injustices that dealt with blacks and minorities. And Colin Kaepernick is following a line of a lot of great athletes who not just because he's black, but other athletes, period, that stand up for injustice, period, against the establishment, with so many people who sit there and benefit from the sacrifice of those great people who stood up for you, in the Cam Newtons of the world, and the Michael Jordans of the world, and the Richard Sermons of the world, and the Jerry Rices of the world. All these clowns would not have the opportunity they have if it wasn't for great men that stood up against injustice when the injustice was commonplace, when it was common in American nomenclature. Now, if you're facing the facts that you're trying to get people to understand that it's not about the flag or disrespect of some flag, but damn the flag when people are dying in this country. You know, we're not going to even talk about foreign policies and people dying because of foolishness, but we're just talking about American citizens. You know, as people stare glass-eyedly at the flag with humbleness and pride in their heart, and behind their backs, people are dying because of crazy corrupt people who not even supposed to be in those positions. But I'm gonna let the guys talk. I done said my spiel. I'm gonna let the guys conversate on this. Kaepernick played tonight. He looked pretty good, actually. And usually we're not talking. We just usually cover Saints and Pelican news, but this subject is so impactful that a lot of people are gauging their input, and we thought we'll bring some common sense, some balance into the world by giving our comments as well. So we're gonna let the guys comment on it and give their takes on it. He played pretty well tonight. And it's pretty interesting because he's still playing for a starting job. And the NFL hadn't said anything, neither have the San Francisco 49ers. And they're smart to stay out of it. Yeah, they're smart to stay out of that. Don't you touch that. You leave that alone well enough. But I did hear other commentators quite recently. I'm going to say this and then let the guys have it. Chris Sims, Phil Sims' son, Chris Sims, who was on one of the shows. I don't know if it was NFL Network or CBS, who knows. But he made mention of the fact that he doesn't believe that Colin Kaepernick will have, if he's released by the 49ers, that he will not find a job anywhere. And the guy, I forgot the receiver that was questioning him, Nate Burleson. Nate Burleson was questioning him and saying, well, before he made the comments that he believed Kaepernick would not be able to find a job, that he said, Sims said, that he can throw the ball, he can scramble, he has all the tools that teams would want. Then followed up by saying that he believes that they won't be able to find a job. So Nate Burleson smartly challenged him and said, well, you said that he can throw, you said he can run better than most quarterbacks, half of the quarterbacks in the league. So why would he not be able to find a job? And so Sims goes on to say, because most teams are going to want to avoid that controversy, they will not have to be involved in that controversy. And that's why a lot of these I have to applaud Eric Reed, and I'm hoping that this transcends sport line, baseball players, basketball players, soccer players, all players, especially a lot of blacks in Europe that play soccer. I know y'all need to stand up or get up off your asses and take a stand, because I remember seeing and reading many cases of black soccer players in Europe being called the N-word by people in the stands in Europe. So now's the time. And the climate is such that with this is happening, people need to stand up and take a stand and bring to light a lot of the things that are going that's unjust in this world. So that's my take on it. Suede, I'm going to let you go ahead on and get your take on it. Colin Kaepernick tonight, he played pretty well. He's battling for a starting job. What's your take, your renewed take on what's going on with Colin Kaepernick?
Well, I gave most of my, what you call spill yesterday, but I think you guys gave me word that more players are starting to join them as far as protesting in the league, and I love it. I love every bit about it. I was watching certain things on certain films on Facebook today. They had one lady talking about the national anthem and about a disappearing third verse. It was totally out the way. I don't know if you guys know anything about that. It was definitely about glorifying slavery. So this stuff that I'm learning, just because of this protest. But with him standing up and other people following, and one of them is, I think one of the Eagles players, his name is Mike Tavares. He was like, hey man, this is my first year. I have no endorsements. I have no money on the line, and he's planning to join and refuse to stand during the national anthem. I don't understand Jerry Rice's stance. From what I've known, Jerry Rice has never spoken on anything. He hasn't spoken on animal cruelty. He hasn't spoken on pollution. He hasn't spoken on anything. But he takes this moment right here to downgrade somebody who is using his amendment to stand stand, the First Amendment, and stand and protest of what he believes in. And I hate to call them names, and I won't, because I'm going to take that high ground, but you're stupid. Okay? You're stupid, Jerry. That's it, man. I'm done.
All right, DC, go ahead.
Yeah, I also got a lot off my chest yesterday, but there was a few things that I forgot to mention. And one thing that stands out to me is everybody's talking about the flag, right? And when you break down, it's just, I'm not even going to go over all the lyrics of the national anthem, but you made me think about it, Sway, when you brought it up. But it's like, let the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through to the night that a flag was still there. So, I mean, basically, you're talking about dropping bombs on people, and you get happy that the flags were still there. So, the take I get, not from the whole of America, but from some of these commentators and these high up deceitful people, is that a flag is more important than a black life. Because every time we speak on it, they keep talking about, no, don't you disrespect the flag. But we can get killed. A 70-year-old grandmother can get tased by the police. And you don't speak on that. This flag. Let's get back to this flag. You go respect this flag. This piece of cloth and coloring. Like, you know, it's a symbol, man. It's not alive. So you already know how I feel on Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice don't know nothing but catching footballs and bricks. I mean, that's all he good for. Without that, he don't have anything. So that guy clearly doesn't have a brain to me. He was one of the greatest receivers of all time, but I guess he just traded in everything else to be that. I don't understand how you could be just not. I ain't gonna even say a black person in America or African American in America. I don't understand how you can be just a person in America and not understand what Colin Kaepernick and now Eric Reed and the other brother from Philly, I didn't catch his name, is trying to do. And anybody, to me, that would critique them without giving an option. Like, I can understand, okay, you saying there's a better way to do that, but what's your plan? What are you going to do? I'm going to give my money to a charity. And keep... Right. Right. They don't give any options, so like it's pretty much null and void to me, man. Get out of the way. If you ain't down, get out the way. Just shut up. You still can get respect like that. We understand. You're not ready to jump on board. But don't make a comment against it. You know what I'm saying? And the brother is standing for truth. So I'm glad he had a great game today, and I hope he has a very productive season. And I don't see any reason why a bunch of teams wouldn't want him. Didn't they have like 5 teams wanted to trade for him?
Yeah, quite a few people. I think he'll be a guy that'll be all right. I think for the most part, when we looking at Colin Kaepernick, it'll work out for the better. For one way or the other, it'll work out for the better. But you know, like I said, it's just one of those subjects that we like to encroach here on the Coma. Sure.
Why does any reporters never talk about the fact about Hillary Clinton calling black kids a super predator? They never even make reference to that comment he made. Don't y'all find that funny? They don't even play that part of the interview.
Well, you know, I tell you what, man, that's I think that probably, you know, that y'all guys are deep. That'll be a subject for another day, perhaps. But anyway, that's the show for tonight on the Sports Coma. We appreciate you guys for joining us across the world. Thank y'all. Also, like I said, the donation thing, you can go to theposhlifestyle.com, make a donation to the show if you enjoy us, appreciate us, and want to support our campaign. I mean, our platform. Also, tomorrow will be, or the following day, we'll be doing another broadcast. We'll be covering not only that, but future cuts dealing with the Saints, who we believe will open up the season. We'll have a little LSU Tiger talk, Tulane Green Wave, among other things. As this weekend we get back into college football, so hooray for that. So Sports Coma, we'll have to cover that and a lot more. So stay tuned, stay joining us, join our platforms and everything.
Don't lose the emails.
Once again, thank y'all for joining us. Have a blessed night. From Sports Coma, Big Q and the Super Predators.